And when I talk about learning, I immediately think about our next speaker. She has seen the importance of education for young girls with her own eyes, first as a teacher and later as the first female Minister of Education here in the Netherlands. Next to her political background, she has held many board positions from Paris to Rotterdam and London, but Maastricht will always be the place where it all started. Welcome to UWC, Mrs. Maria van der Hoeven.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for your kind introduction, and thank you for having me here, because this is not my first time at United World College, but it's the first time at a meeting like this. And let me just comment a bit on what has been done today until now. I would like to make some comments on diversity. And you know, diversity at the top, and I know what I'm talking about, it's crucial. It's crucial. When you're talking about ESG, about environment, social governance issues, they all become more and more decisive factor in a company. And I know some would say they are soft skills. I can tell you one thing, they might look soft skills, but they aren't. They are powerful skills. And diversity, in my view, stands for difference, difference in opinion, difference in gender, difference in nationality, in culture, and in age. All this diversity we need at the top, and is a recognized factor of success, key to success. And we can see now that better functioning companies, they are really took this item of diversity at the top and do something about it, as Margaret showed us just a few hours ago. And I'm impressed by the students. I'm impressed by the personal journeys of former students and the students that we have been meeting here today. It's impressive. And it's moving. It's something that goes to your heart. And they are actually the living example of what I'm going to say in this 10 to 15 minutes. And then the workshops. I joined Gender and Power. And what I've seen happening there makes me reflect on a number of issues. Maybe reflect in a different way. So that was my learning experience of today. But I was asked to tell you a little bit about my personal journey and to speak about that as an illustration of becoming an agent of change, of becoming a representative of change. So that's what I'm going to do. And there are three striking elements in my story, the story of my life. It's education, it's energy, and it's change. It's transition and what that did to me. And let me start with education. You know, I'm fully convinced without a good primary education to start with, you get nowhere. It's the basis of everything. And the development of skills starts there. And unfortunately, that is often underestimated. And people talk about universities and things like that. They are important. But the universities can only exist if the basic skills have been learned. If you don't do that, you never reach the top. You never reach the top of education. And education and learning, they are extremely important to me. I have to tell, I never stop learning. And as I mentioned, I learned even today. I learned Dutch, I learned English, I learned geography, I learned economics at the Open University, and later the Erasmus Governance Institute. I followed dedicated master classes. Yes, lifelong learning. And as I mentioned, even today, I learned from you. I learned also about the importance of role models, although that is something that I already know about because we all had our role models. But I started as a teacher at a secondary school, and later I was a students' counselor, helping students to grow and make the next step in their education, choose what kind of study they wanted to go to. That wasn't always easy. When you're talking to 12 to 16-year-olds, well, they have their own ideas, and sometimes they are not aware of the talents they have, the possibilities they have. Later, I was engaged in retraining of adults as a director of a vocational training institute for adults. And that also was, again, helping people to make the next step in their professional life. It was a matter of empowerment, as education always is. It's a matter of empowerment. And you know, well, I think most of you will know that in the 60s and the 70s, there was a decision to shut down our coal mines here in this district. And that means that a lot of jobs disappeared. Skills weren't needed anymore. And actually people, they got unemployed and they didn't know what to do. So this retraining, again, this education was really something that was incredibly important. And for me it was important that I could be an agent to do that, to do something about it. But I also wanted to do something more structural, and that is where politics came in. So I wanted to make changes in a different way. I became member of town council in Maastricht. Education at local level, that was my ticket for this council. Then I became a member of parliament. And in both positions, education was key. But now, as a member of parliament, it was in legislation, it was in making changes in the Dutch school system. And later, that's true, I became the first Minister of Education, Culture and Science. We always had secretaries for female secretaries, but we never had a female Minister for Education, Culture and Science. I did quite a few things, but one of the things that came to my mind when I was preparing this short speech, that was Dutch and European citizenship as a part of school education. Because school education at school is not only about STEM, how important they are, and about other skills, it's about citizenship. Learning to be a citizen in your own environment, in your own country, and make a contribution to that. And I think this is extremely important. The second leading principle in my life was energy. I've been involved in energy since the 80s, when I became the founder and CEO of the Technology Center Limburg. That was a technology transfer from industry to technical schools, which was really, well, rather revolutionary at the moment, because it wasn't there, it didn't exist. And then ask me, a woman, to do that. I said to myself, can I do that? Can I do that? And then I said, why not? Why should I not be able to do that? And then I said to myself, but I'm missing some skills, so see to it that you get them. See that you get the skills that you don't have, because you can always acquire new skills. But you have to have the confidence that you can do it and that you are going to do it. And then, later, in energy again, my second mandate as a minister was Minister for Economic Affairs and Energy, which was in energy again. It ended in 2011. You know, we lost in 2010, we lost the elections, and I myself said, it's time to go. It's time to go and do something else. I didn't know what, but there was another opportunity that came in the arena, and it was the function of non-executive director of the International Energy Agency in Paris. Again, something new. And now it was double new, because it was in a different country, quite different. It was a hands-on experience, so not a minister again, but a hands-on experience. And it also meant that you had to move to live there, which means living in quite a different circumstances. But many of you don't do that. You do it by nature. You come here from your own country and you study here. But in those days it was not so, it was rather a jump for me, but I did it. You know, when I look back, I had no idea, but when I was young I had no idea at all that my journey of life would be as it has been. I didn't know. I didn't know. I didn't know because, you know, when I was your age, how old are you? 16. When I was 16, well, that's quite a long time ago. And in those days, it was actually, for a woman, having a career. Well, that was something out of the question. That was not usual. And I wanted to have a career. I wanted to have a job of my own. I wanted to have my independence. And I'm still grateful for the headmaster of the secondary school I visited, that he convinced my parents that it was better to have a professional training for me and to let me go to a vocational training school, a school for teachers. That was my basics. And I'm still happy that this guy, that he really convinced my parents to do that, because they had a different idea. But that was how it was in those days, and that is how it is in other regions nowadays as well. And that's something we have to bear in mind. It's not always and not everywhere as it is here in the Netherlands. So now, when I got this job in Paris, it was an interesting job. It was a job at an international organization. We had 29 member countries, and the origins of that organization go back to 1973, 1972, when it was founded as a response to of OECD countries to the oil crisis. And we had very high oil prices in those days, like we have now. And we had very high gas prices nowadays, then like we have now, because the price of gas is connected to the price of oil. That's the point. There are some other problems nowadays, but it's not new. We had that before. I made changes in the organization. I saw to it that there was more emphasis on energy transformation, on renewables, on electricity, innovation, and the changing role of gas in the global energy mix. And that was new because it was most importantly about oil. I started the Energy Association, and that means that there was a strengthened cooperation with a number of selected non-member countries like Mexico, China, India, South Africa, Brazil, Russia. Those things were all new in those days. Now they are common, but in those days they were new. So again, I had the opportunity to make the changes I wanted to make, because I felt that it was important to see to it that that organization was moving into a different direction. And now at this moment the IEA is really a very, very respectable and respected organization, for instance when it goes about scenarios for climate and energy. And then in 2016 I joined the board of Total in Paris, and now I am in my second mandate, and since June this year I'm the chair of the audit committee. And you know, dear friends, this is a very French company. Very French. And I'm typically Dutch. So they think I'm much too direct from their points of view. You know, learning the culture and the do's and don'ts of an organization, and you need to know the do's and don'ts of the organization, because otherwise you cannot be effective to make changes. You know what they are thinking, how they are working. Because if you don't know that, you just jump in and they say, oh, okay, yes, that's her from the Netherlands. So that's not useful, that doesn't help. So Total Energy, it's one of the 6 oil and gas majors, and it's an oil and gas major that has really read and understood the writing on the wall, and I was part of that transition. We have now a focus on diversity, we have a focus on environment, we have a strategic approach since 1 year on clean energies and the wish to achieve net zero carbon in 2050. And we have a focus on talent of young people, engaging them in this new energy and digital strategy of the company leading towards a clean energy future, giving them opportunities to be partners in change. So my life, it's a life of transition. Were there disappointments? Oh yes, oh yes. I never became an alderman in Maastricht, was something I wanted to be. I never became the director of a secondary school I wanted to be. I never became, well, some other things, but I got other things. And I think looking back, it's okay. You know, from teacher to minister to director general of an international organization to non-executive director of a global oil and gas company, in transition to 2050, well, it's not bad, isn't it? Was it a logical sequence? No, not at all. So how come? And this is something I would like to emphasize. You know, sometimes people recognize qualities in you that you yourself are not immediately aware of. In other words, support and new opportunities often come out of unexpected corners. And the program of your life is unknown, cannot really be planned. So be always ready for the unexpected and take the risk of a new unforeseen challenge. Sometimes it doesn't work. You cannot achieve what you want. That's life as well. Sometimes the door is shut in your face. But I learned that when a door closes, a window opens. But we often look so long and regretfully to that closed door, that missed opportunity, that we do not see the window of opportunity opening. So now we all live in a world of change, of transition. How to play a role there? And which role? Because you know this 21st century will be characterized by big changes, and we can see them everywhere already. We have the new transition, new energy transition triggered by climate change. There's a growing world population in need of energy, water and food. We will be about 9 billion in 2050. Still more than 1 billion people are without access to clean energy and clean cooking. We have the digital revolution. We have the growing awareness of the need for a more circular approach in our economies, and we have an aging population in developed countries and a young population in developing countries. So in my view, energy and education, they are at the basis of economic growth and should be used to tackle these kind of challenges. And you know, we are going from a world dominated by fossils to a world dominated by clean energy. And different regions will choose different pathways and planning to get there. You know, you cannot prescribe from here, from the Western developed world, how the transition should be done in Africa. You have to realize that they are in a different position and maybe make different choices. And that's something we have to respect. But what we have to do is see to it that they are possible, that it's possible for people in Africa to do it. So technology transfer, knowledge transfer, and money. They are three things that are really needed. Because we must never forget that we need a just transition. And nobody should be left behind, because if that's the case, the threat to peace and prosperity is there. And you know, just a few more words about energy, because its energy transition is about much more than how we produce energy. It's about an economic, societal transformation. It's impacting jobs and employment everywhere, even in the rich oil countries in the MENA region, because it's going to change. And like we have seen in many regions phasing out coal-based economies, we have to think how to deal with that. And technology and innovation, they are key. But behaving, strategy, products, etc., are also about people. And that is what I would like to emphasize. This transition we are at this moment and visualizing is about people. It's about us. It's about our lifestyle. It's about our future. It's about our energy consumption, impacting the generations of today and tomorrow. And I'm grateful to be part of that change, that transition, that I could do my work at the IEA, at Rocky Mountain Institute. It's a think and do tank on energy transformation. My work and decisions at Total Energy, and as a special advisor to the World Energy Council on energy literacy. So what about you? What about young people? How to deal with change, and how to be an agent or a representative of change. You know, it's not a question of whether or not, it's a question of how. And not everybody will be in a high position, but you will always be in a position that you can make the changes for the things that you see are happening. You can make changes in your own environment. You can use the opportunities to improve things around you, as we have heard from these young people here this afternoon. So how to do that? What should you be doing to get there? Well, first of all, you have got a great opportunity. You study here. And I would like to underline the words of Musumbi Kanyori, transformative education empowers girls worldwide. And that's true, because it gives girls, but boys as well. We are not going to forget about you. It gives you a way to be in this era of change, to play your part and to take responsibility. But it was also mentioned today that this empowerment of a female, that it needs to get visibility, examples, female role models in your own country, because they make the difference and show that things can be changed. Now, some of you will be future leaders. Others have responsible jobs, or will be future entrepreneurs, starting and scaling up your own business. So invest in your skills, invest in your talents, and keep on learning, and participate and engage in debates about the future. We did that as well. Ask questions, come forward with ideas, because driving change is expected from you. You have no time for complaining about lost opportunities and closing doors. That leads to nothing at all. And whenever you get a new opportunity, and this goes for the young and for the other generations here assembled in this room, whenever you get a new opportunity, it is because of your capabilities, it's because of your talents, it's because of your ideas, and because somebody believes in you. But perseverance is needed as well. You know, you need that to turning your thoughts into words and actions that can make a difference. You must not stop with the words. So, some closing remarks. I say, always follow your interests, follow your heart, follow your passion. And as I mentioned, do not waste your energy and time in harboring bad feelings or disappointments. And when a door closes, look around, and be aware of that opening window of new opportunities. And life always comes with choices. You can't have it all. Never forget, you make your own choices. You are responsible for your choices. Of course, look before you leap, think before you leap. But leap and go for it. And never stop being curious. Never stop learning. And of course, use and expand your talents and networks. Stand up and make yourself heard and seen. In other words, you yourself write the story of your life. Nobody else is going to do that for you. This goes for every generation, But we, the elder, have an additional responsibility. We have to help young people to go for the opportunities, to grow into representatives of change. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much for your talk. I'm sure there are lots of questions about this very interesting talk. I can say that I was really inspired with how much passion you spoke, and I think we all learned from that. So I was wondering if there are any questions from the audience for Ms. van der Hoeven. We have a microphone, I think. No questions? Not from the students? Oh, here.
Yes. I come from a generation where we learned French, German and English at school, so I had basic knowledge of French. And I'm still learning French. I'm still studying, yes. And one of the things I'm studying is talk, speak, but also read. And when I read and look TV and listen to radio, all that kind of thing, so that you get it's also about the rhythm and not the words themselves, but the rhythm of a language is very important. And you have to continue to learn. I have to. But it's nice.
Thank you.
Will you be going to COP26 in Glasgow?
No, I'm not invited. No, but I have been to COP meetings. I've been in Lima and in Paris, so I was there when the big program in Paris and the treatment of Paris was being signed. I was there, and I was I was very active when it was in Lima. But then I stopped being an executive director of the International Energy Agency, and now this kind of invitations don't come to me anymore. It's a pity.
So you talked a lot about young people, and I was wondering what message do you have to send to new generations coming?
What kind of message would you like to hear? Because I sent you a few messages, but maybe,
Yes.
but maybe those were
What's the
not the
most
messages that you wanted to hear.
No, I heard, what's the most important to you?
The most important is develop your skills. Develop your skills, but also be yourself and know yourself. And it's very important that whenever you are on crossroads, that you ask yourself, if you can't ask it to somebody else, but you ask yourself, where do I want to go? What does this mean for me? What does that mean for me? And can I explain to myself or to my mother why I made that decision? That's what I would like to give to you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
First of all, thank you very much for giving this talk. I think it was great. And my question to you is, when you're relatively young, when you, let's say, graduated university, you have your degree and you're like, okay, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. Or or you think that way because, of course, you haven't been older yet. You haven't had all this experience. And as you said it yourself, you had quite an illogical path. So how do you get this courage to just change in a matter of a second and say, I'm going to do not what I studied for and not what my first job was, but I'm going to become a zookeeper or whatever?
Well, it's not a matter of a second. It's also sometimes because there is a logical end to something. Because you have a job and the job is ended and then you're looking for something else and something new comes on your path where you can use all the talents and the knowledge and the competence and the skills you have acquired, and then you move forward. But that does not always mean that there is a logical way. And when I was young, I had an idea of that myself, and I said I wanted to be a teacher, and then what? I want to be a headmaster. That was how I had envisaged my future. But it didn't work out like that, because when I was when I was working as a teacher, I got the request to start this training school for adults. So I became a director, but of something else. So sometimes it happens like that. But what I surely would like to say to you, don't be disappointed if you don't have a linear road to wherever you want to go. Sometimes it goes like this, and sometimes it comes to you, but in a different way than expected.
Thank you. Unfortunately, we don't have any more time for other questions.